When I was 9 years old, the entire world told me my father was a liar, a thief, and a coward who stole $40,000 and abandoned his family. I believed it for most of my life, because when you are 9, the world is louder than you are. It took me 25 years, a confessed fixer, and a room full of women the world had also erased to prove that every single word of it was planted by one man, the man all the others answered to. This is how we finally found him. My name is Nora. My father was Thomas Reed. Before he became a cautionary tale, he was an investigative reporter, the kind who still knocked on doors. In 1999, when I was 8, he started chasing a story he would never discuss at dinner. The only thing he ever told me was that he had found a man whose entire job was to make other men's problems disappear, including, when it came to it, the people who were the problem. I did not understand it then. I do now. My father had not found a fixer. He had found the fixer, the one all the others were only apprentices to. A man who did not work for clients. He worked for the people the clients hired, a fixer for the fixers. And the moment my father got close, the man at the top did to him exactly what I would later watch him do to so many others. He did not threaten him, he rewrote him. First, an old colleague accused my father of stealing a story. Then a source he had quoted for years suddenly swore he had made the whole interview up. Then his editor received documents, very convincing ones, suggesting my father had invented sources for a decade. In 4 months, the most trusted reporter at his paper became the most disgraced. They did not just fire him, they unwrote his entire life. And then, to bury it for good, $40,000 went missing from a charity my father volunteered for. The money was traced to an account with his name on it, an account he had never opened. The story wrote itself. Disgraced reporter, caught stealing, flees in shame. 11 days after the police came to our door, my father was gone. They told us he ran. My mother believed them until the day she died 6 years later of what the doctors called heart failure and what I called a broken one. So I grew up as the daughter of a thief. I changed schools twice. I heard my last name whispered in grocery stores. And somewhere along the way, I did the thing they count on every child like me to do. I started to believe it too. That is the part that still keeps me up. For almost 20 years, the man at the top did not just erase my father. He made me help. I might have believed it forever. And then, last year, I saw a name in the news that I had not heard out loud since I was a child. A developer named Victor Hale had just been exposed for paying a fixer, a man called Garrett, to erase witnesses to an unsafe building. The story was everywhere, and buried in the coverage was a single line from the investigation that stopped my heart. Garrett, it said, had not invented his methods. He had been trained years earlier by someone the records only referred to as the second client, a mentor, a man who erased witnesses to other fixers' work, a fixer for the fixers. The exact phrase my father had used at our dinner table in 1999. I want you to remember that phrase, because for 25 years I thought it was the rambling of a man who lost his mind. It turned out to be the most accurate thing anyone ever said about the person who destroyed us. So I did something I had been too afraid to do my entire adult life. I went looking for my father's things, not the public wreckage, the boxes my mother could never bring herself to throw away. Sitting in a storage unit, I had been paying $11 a month to ignore for 2 decades. It took me 3 nights. And then, taped inside the back panel of an old desk drawer, exactly where a man who knew he was being watched would hide it, I found my father's real notebook. Not the one they used to destroy him, the one he kept for himself. Paper he had written on the first page, because paper cannot be quietly deleted at 2 in the morning. And on the last page he ever wrote, under a heading that just said the architect, was a single name, a name I knew, a name everyone knew. Because by the time I read it, the man my father died trying to expose had spent 25 years becoming one of the most respected people in the country. His name was Julian Vance. And if you have ever watched a powerful person survive a scandal that should have ended them, there's a real chance you watched his work without ever knowing his name. Julian Vance was the most celebrated crisis and reputation expert alive, a best-selling author, a man presidents and CEOs called at 3 in the morning. He went on television and lectured the nation about truth and accountability, and his actual business, the one underneath, was deciding which inconvenient witnesses were allowed to keep their reputations and which ones had to lose them. I had a notebook, I had a name, and I had absolutely nothing else. I was a 34-year-old substitute teacher with a disgraced last name, accusing a national hero of a murder the world had already filed as a runaway father. If I had walked into a police station that day, they would have done to me precisely what they had done to my dad, so I did not go to the police. I went to the only people on earth who would believe me, the women from the Hale case, Maya, who had survived her own erasure and started keeping the files, Claire, the restaurateur, Elena, the engineer's widow, 4, then 7, then more. Every one of them a person the world had once decided to disbelieve. I drove 6 hours, sat across from Maya, and slid my father's notebook across the table. She read the name on the last page, and for a long moment she did not say anything at all. Then she opened her own folder, turned it to face me, and there it was again, Julian Vance. In Garrett's records, the second client. We had the same man, from 2 different decades, 2 different cities, 2 different tragedies. A reporter in 1999 and a developer's witnesses in the present, connected by one name that had spent 25 years above suspicion. For the first time since I was 9 years old, I was not crazy. I was right, and I was not alone. But here is the part I need you to understand, because it is the reason the next part hurts so much. Being right was still not enough. Julian Vance was not a developer or a cheating husband. He was the man other powerful people paid specifically because he could not be caught. He had spent a quarter of a century making sure that anyone who accused him looked exactly like what my father had been made to look like. Unstable, obsessed, discredited. So when we made our first move, he did to us what he had done to everyone before us, and for a few weeks he won. The journalist we trusted with our story had it killed by her own editor within a week. The next day, Maya was served with a defamation suit by a foundation no one had heard of. A respectable magazine ran a quiet profile of me, the troubled daughter of a known fraud now harassing a beloved public figure. He was rewriting us in real time, exactly the way he had rewritten my father, and watching us learn what he had always known. The truth is not a weapon when the man you are aiming it at owns the room. I almost stopped. I want to be honest about that. There was a night, 25 years deep into this, sitting alone with my father's notebook, when I thought, maybe this is just what happens to my family. Maybe some people are simply not allowed to be believed. And then I read my father's last line again, the one under the architect. It said, "The only thing he cannot survive is all of them at once." All of them at once. My father had figured out 25 years before any of us how to beat a man who controls every room. You do not walk into one room. You walk into every room in the world on the same morning, so there is no single editor to call, no single judge to reach, no single story to kill. He had not been able to do it alone in 1999. There was no way to reach everyone at once back then. But we were not in 1999 anymore. So we built the thing my father could only dream of. We spent 4 months in the dark, doing it his way, quietly, carefully, completely. We took Garrett's records, my father's original notebook, Elena's case, Maya's files, and 11 other people we found the same way the Alliance had found each other. And we assembled, for the first time in 25 years, the entire shape of what Julian Vance actually did. And then we found the one thing that turned a pattern into a noose. The $40,000, the money that supposedly proved my father was a thief. We traced the account it came from, the one in his name, he never opened. It had been funded in 1999 through 3 shell companies, back to a man who was just beginning his career in reputation management. Julian Vance had not only erased my father, he had paid for the privilege and left a receipt he assumed no one would ever live long enough to find. We brought all of it to the one investigative team Vance did not own, a federal one, and to 9 separate news organizations at the same hour on the same morning, with a public archive that went live the instant the first story did. There was no single room. There was no editor to call. By the time Julian Vance woke up and reached for the phone he had used to erase people for 25 years, the story was already in 9 cities, and it was about him, and the man who had spent a lifetime making sure the truth never landed in the same place. twice watched it land everywhere, all at once. He could not kill 9 stories. He could not sue an archive that had already copied itself 10,000 times. He could not call a witness obsessed when the witnesses were a federal filing, a dead reporter's notebook, a confessed fixer, and 25 years of receipts. Garrett, facing his own charges, made the choice that ended it. He testified, not out of conscience, out of arithmetic. He confirmed under oath that Julian Vance had trained him, directed him, and taken a share of every reputation he ever destroyed. The apprentice buried the architect to save himself. There is a justice in that my father would have appreciated. Julian Vance was charged with conspiracy, with fraud, and once the pattern of vanished witnesses across 25 years was laid beside the pattern of his payments, with things far worse. The man who taught a generation how to bury people was buried by the one thing he never accounted for. The people he erased, refusing finally to stay erased. And in a quiet courtroom on a Tuesday, a judge formally vacated every charge ever filed against Thomas Reed. My father was not a thief. He was not a coward. He did not abandon us. He was a reporter who found the truth 25 years too early to survive it, and who left his daughter the one thing she needed to finish what he started, paper, because paper cannot be quietly deleted at 2 in the morning. I will not pretend it gave me my father back, or my mother, or the 25 years I spent believing the people who destroyed him. It did not. But I drove back to that storage unit, the one I had been paying $11 a month to avoid for half my life, and this time I was not afraid of what was inside it. I sat among my father's boxes, and for the first time since I was 9 years old, I said his name out loud like it was something to be proud of. Because it was. People ask me whether it was worth 25 years, whether one ruined family is worth bringing down one powerful man. But that was never what it was about. Julian Vance was not rare. He was just good. There will be another architect, because there will always be powerful people who need inconvenient truths to disappear and someone willing to make them. But something did change. For 25 years, the people men like Vance erased each believed they were the only one. Alone, ashamed, easy to rewrite. That was the whole machine. And the machine only works as long as the erased never find each other. We found each other. And now there is a folder and an archive, and a room full of people who know the pattern by heart, waiting for the next architect to make the first move. So if you take one thing from my father's story, take the line he left me, the one it took me a lifetime to understand. They are not afraid of the truth. They have buried it 1,000 times. The only thing they have ever been afraid of is all of you at once. If Thomas Reed's story kept you here to the end, then do the one thing that actually frightens people like the architect. Do not look away, and do not let anyone tell you that you are the only one. Subscribe, share this with the person who needs it, and tell me in the comments. If the whole world told you someone you loved was a monster, how long would you keep believing them? I believed them for 20 years. I will spend the rest of my life making up for it. I will see you in the next one.